Hello and welcome back to a Community Insight by TVC22. I'm your host, Thomas Stockton. Today we are looking into a project that was set up by husband and wife Mike and Jane, the Vankleek Hill Food Bank Garden Program. A little bit of a mouthful, I know, and you think, what's a food bank garden program? It is something a little bit different, and I can't wait to dive into this subject today. It started earlier this year in the spring with the aim of really trying to teach people the value in growing their own food. Although the project was just a pilot earlier this year, it has been growing into a staggering success, and thanks to a $12,000 grant through the Community Innovations Program here in Prescott-Russell, Volunteers Prescott-Russell, it's only going to grow further and further. And joining me to discuss this today is one of the co-directors, as I mentioned her earlier. This is Jane. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming on. I know that this time of year, especially as we wrap up and the colder weather is about to set in, there must be a ton of work to get ready for the winter. So I really do appreciate you taking your time to speak with us today. Jane, the first place I'd like to start is this program that you set up, mentioned there in the introduction. It's a pilot that started in the spring, teaching people how to grow their own food. Where did this idea come from? Are you a bit of a green finger yourself?
My family is of Italian heritage, so I can't remember a time when we didn't have a garden in our backyard, and we just thought, what a great way to encourage people to start growing their own food is to offer them the garden space free of charge through our food bank.
And there's a dog in the background there. What's the name of the dog, Jane?
My dog's name is Gunter, and someone's at my front door.
Well, it's good to know Gunter is on form and ready to protect if need be. Jane, speaking of the garden, they're growing one's own food. Why did you feel like this was a cause important enough to donate this space to the community? Why is it something you mentioned, obviously Italian heritage, but why is it something that you hold so dearly to your own heart?
Well, we got a new volunteer in staff in 2020, and she is a special care counselor, and she was talking to us about the direct correlation between poverty and people not being able to create their own food. So it's really just a seed that she dropped, pardon the pun. And then we started thinking of ways that we could encourage people not only to cook their own food, but to grow their own food.
And talking of that, obviously, how many people have you had come and utilize this garden space over the last few months?
So our pilot project started in spring of 2021, and we had 6 of our food bank clients. We assigned them garden plots just to see how it was going to work, if there was demand, if they had the skills that were required to grow their own food, and just to see what kind of success rate we had. It just so happened, as we were starting to think about doing this, the Grand Barn in Vankleek Hill started their community garden plot project, and they offered us some free plots. We would purchase a plot, and they would donate a plot for free.
Wow, fantastic. And was it difficult to try and get people involved and keen into growing their, I just say, this is very much aimed at the fact that there is a huge amount of poverty, and it's very hard for people to sometimes put those meals on the table, which is a great element in itself, but you're kind of asking people to then go that other step and go to the food at the source as well. Was it hard to convince people to get involved to begin with?
For this year, it was. We encouraged some people. We had great community support through Food Activated, who donated all the seedlings for our clients, and Foodland Vankleek Hill, which donated seeds. The Champlain Library, they donated seeds for our clients. So we were able to offer them a project that only required their time. There was no added costs for them.
Fantastic. And you mentioned there the acquisition of plenty of different plots as well. Is the plan to expand this? I mean, we will dive into a little bit about the main focus on the financial side. Is the plan to kind of expand next year? I mean, this was a pilot project after all.
Absolutely. The whole idea of a pilot project was just to see what if we were meeting the needs of our clients with our initial concept, or did we need to expand on that? And we found through summer 2021, that there were, there was tools that our clients didn't have. Some of them didn't have the knowledge. Some of them found that the ground plots were not accessible to them. So it really gave us an idea of what we needed to do better for 2022.
And I know you touched on it a little bit at the start as well. Why did you feel that really growing one's own food and giving people quite literally the tools that they require to be able to see the food from the conception of it, the inception of it into the ground to the idea of it being on your plate? Why do you think that is that aids people in those kind of positions?
I think food insecurity is a huge issue for most families. The divide between the haves and the have-nots is only getting greater. And as much as a food bank, we are able to provide our clients with groceries, it's not in the abundance perhaps that they would like, or the abundance that they could acquire by growing their own food. So it just seemed the next logical step was to let's get them growing and see what they can accomplish for themselves.
And you've recently been allocated this $12,000 that we mentioned earlier from Volunteers Prescott-Russell through the Community Innovation Grant Program, which is fantastic. It helps us, as the listener may not know, but helps a lot of great organisations just like yours throughout the Prescott-Russell region. This grant had in the conceptualisation of giving the money really was allowing the programme to extend into the fall. We're in November now, and I think it dipped below zero this morning on my way into work. So obviously gardening is must be proving a little bit difficult at the moment. But before we dive into that element, what are the clients growing at the moment, and how has the money really been used to sort of extend the program for you?
Okay, so most of the program allowed us to grow into the fall season. So there was a lot of squash until this past weekend. There was still squash and leeks and potatoes and carrots in the community garden. So we did a big harvest this weekend, which is amazing to see how many potatoes and butternut squash and pumpkins and acorn squash and carrots and leeks we were able to harvest to get us through the next couple of weeks. But right now we're as harvesting is ending, we're starting to get prepared for the next growing season.
So what's some of this money going to go towards to be able to help the next growing season? And when do you expect to start again in the new year?
So the brunt of right now we've had 4 raised beds installed at the Grand Barn Community Garden to allow those people, those of our clients with mobility issues who found going down to ground level too difficult. So now they're 2 feet high, so there's no getting down on your knees. In our tool lending library, we will be purchasing stools and kneeling pads for them to utilize so that they don't have to get down at ground level. So that's our first part of the project that's been completed, and we're really excited about that. We're going to be planting garlic in one of those raised beds this week, so that we'll have garlic in the early spring. But also getting the beds ready for the winter's dormancy with compost and mulch, so that we have a great growing soil for next year.
And speaking a little bit more of the Vankleek Hill Food Bank to begin with, as an organisation, is it just how many people do you represent? How many people do you actually need to help out every year? What is the situation actually like for you?
So the food bank and its sister thrift store are part of the Cafe registered charity. We've seen almost our clientele has almost tripled since 2019, and we service between 25 and 30 families a month.
Well, again, staggering need. Yeah, staggering need for food poverty in the region.
Yeah, huge increase from we were serving nine families a month in 2019. So I mean, it's
well, that was
the increase.
Absolutely,
Sorry.
That was going to be my next question, Ruth. No, it's quite all right. That was literally my next question. I was wondering how it sort of compared year on year, and how this trying year, which I feel like is this reoccurring topic in every conversation and interview I have at the moment, but we can't shy away from it. It has played such a big part on all of our lives. So how have you found in terms of the food bank element comparing year on year when we take the pandemic into consideration, and how much do you think this program is then being able to sort of expand? Because you're outside as well. So surely even in the harder bits of the pandemic, you were still able to keep going.
Absolutely. And I think that's an undervalued part of the program is that it provides mental health benefits for our clients who are part of the at-risk population, and it allows them to socialize in a safe space. So our garden beds are all 5 to 10 feet apart, so people can work in their beds and interact with their neighbors, but never get within that 2 meters of social distancing. So I think that's a real benefit for our clientele, on top of being able to produce their own food.
Yeah, you mentioned some things being added next year, such as the raised beds, especially for people maybe with mobility issues. And tell me, I'll tell you right now, like when I saw that, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, a young, sprightly man myself, but I remember having to get down on my hands and knees with my nan when I was helping her out in the garden, and it was a nightmare then for myself as well. So I guess that's one of the lessons. But I wanted to ask you as well, Jane, about some of maybe the other lessons that you learned from this pilot year and the things you hope to improve upon next year.
So our other main lesson that we learned was that our clientele doesn't necessarily have the implements necessary to succeed. So some clientele had tomato stakes, others did not. So we're implementing a tool lending library with the innovation grant. We're going to install a shed, and we will have trowels and rakes and shovels and lattice for squash and tomato cages and everything that they would need to succeed in their gardening attempts. As well, part of our funding is to have a workshop, and we're going to just talk about the basics of gardening. We had one client who did not realize that bean plants will produce all seasons. So she harvested her first harvest of beans and then yanked out the plant, not realizing it would continue to propagate. So 2021 was a learning curve, and now we're getting ready to get this thing rolling in 2022.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Not only is it a great activity, as you say, with mental health and social benefits, it helps out on the food bank side of things because you're producing food. It gives a better understanding and value of food as well. But the educational tool as well, as you say, can't be undermined in the slightest. You spoke a little bit earlier about some of the beds that were kind of donated as you purchased one was given to you. I mean, I wanted to ask, how important is the Foodland Vankleek Hill, like the partnership you have, as well as the other local partnerships that help support the Foodland? How important are they to you?
Start with Foodland Vankleek Hill has been an invaluable partner for the food bank, whether it's donating seeds to our food bank garden, or just they have an endless fundraiser of brown bags that people can purchase on site that have goods, non-perishable goods in them that the food bank uses on a regular basis. But they have been an invaluable partner in providing us with seeds. We just received a huge donation of seeds for 2022. Food Activated donated, hundreds of seedlings, tomatoes and peppers and leeks and all cabbage and endless seedlings for our clients. The Champlain Library again was amazing in donating lettuce and cucumbers and radish seeds. We were overwhelmed by the community support for this endeavor.
And we speak then, obviously, the main reason why we come to speak today as well is that Community Innovation Grant Program and that $12,000. How important has that been as well, that financial support from a county organisation essentially trying to highlight businesses and organisations such as yourself doing such great work?
That is, we were thrilled when we received that we had received notification that we had received the grant. We would have continued into 2022 on a much smaller scale, definitely without the raised beds for the accessibility for our clients. But this it's like a dream come true. Not only do we get to have accessible beds for our clients, we get to provide them with the necessary tools to succeed, and we are able to expand the number of beds that we can offer to our clients next year. So it really is the best of all worlds for us to receive this grant.
Well, fantastic, Jane. I can tell you, I'll have to be popping down once the.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. You might be planting the garlic. I'm not going to come see it until the snow is gone. But I would love to pop down and see
Yeah.
the garden and the program you've got going on in the new year as well. And
Absolutely.
Jane, I think just before we go, I'd just like to give you the platform here. Sort of, if people are in need, if people want to get in touch, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
We're on all social media, Facebook and Instagram through @Vankleek Hill Food Bank, or they're welcome to give us a call the old-fashioned way at 613-678-8119.
Fantastic, Jane. Thank you so much for speaking with us today and for sharing a little insight there about the program you've got going on. And as I mentioned, I would love to come see you guys in the new year. And in the meantime, what I'm going to be doing is going home and making some leek and potato soup, because I think the weather calls for it and you got me nice and hungry talking about those leeks then. Thank you, Jane.
Thanks so much.
Wonderful. And thank you so much for tuning in to another Political Insight here at TVC 22 as we explore some of the businesses and organisations that are doing nothing but good for our community here in Prescott-Russell. As ever, if there's a story you think needs some more light shined on, do get in touch with us. You can email me at nouvelle with an S at the end at tvc22.ca, or you can give me a call here at the office on extension number 4. Again, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.